The 2021 NFL Draft is now in the books, and a couple things first before we get into it. Shout out to Cleveland, Ohio. What a great job working the draft. It was absolutely incredible. I thought the stage looked great. Everything was ran well, very little to no hiccups. It was incredible, especially with this being the first draft back with fans trying to get back to some normalcy. I thought Cleveland, Ohio knocked it out of the park. I can't even put it into words how great of a job I think they did there. So, great job representing the city and giving NFL fans a look into how great the city can actually be, despite a lot of the jokes that are made, but it is what it is. And then second of all, I'm sorry this is coming out so late. I had some microphone problems. My computer did an update, and of course it went in and changed all the settings. So I had to go back through and fix that, plug some stuff in, download some stuff, do whatever I needed to do. So I apologize this is out so late. I'm trying. I really am. But anyway, let's get into what we are here to talk about today. The Cleveland Browns, Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski had one heck of a weekend. Just absolutely incredible looking at some of the names on this list. So that's what we're here today to do, is talk about the guys on this list. And I'll say this, you can look to my channel here for more draft content later. Not even just with the Browns. I'm looking forward to sometime here soon talking about Trey Lance with the 49ers, how he could fit, maybe talk a little bit more about Justin Fields and his journey now to Chicago. So, but we will have plenty of draft content and recaps, and I'm looking to do some more interviews and stuff. I have some people lined up, so stay tuned. There's going to be plenty more coming. But anyway, so round 1, 26, the Browns stay pat and use the 26th pick. They don't trade up nor down. They select cornerback Greg Newsome, the second from Northwestern. Now, honestly, in my opinion, I think the board could not have fallen any better for the Browns. Like, it was amazing when we got to the 22nd pick, or not 22nd, 26th pick, to look at the names that were available for the Browns to choose from. Absolutely incredible. I know as fans we were kind of panicking, and there was a report that was confirmed the next day on CBD that allegedly the Browns were possibly going to even trade up to get Greg Newsome. So the fact that they sit there at 26 and still get their guy is incredible. I think Greg Newsome is going to be one heck of a player. I think a lot of people look at the cornerback position as one that is need for a lot of depth. Denzel Ward has been hurt every year. Greedy Williams has been hurt basically his entire career, and the Browns just needed some serious help there. And I think people look at Northwestern as a negative here. When people who don't know much about the player itself, himself with Greg Newsome, they look at Northwestern and say, Northwestern, why would we, what? This is a horrible pick. Well, if you actually look into it, I think this is a fantastic pick. I've known of Greg Newsome for a while. Once I started actually looking into him more, I just had a gut feeling he would be the guy. You can go back to my Will the Browns Draft Greg Newsome video. I said if you put a gun to my head and said, give me a name, I would say Greg Newsome. It just always seemed like it was destined to happen. He to me, I think he's going to fit what the Browns want to do here great. I mean, like I said before, he's a guy that can play outside, he can play inside, he can play zone, he can play man. He's young, he's fast, he's smart. He's everything the Browns want and everything the Browns are looking for in their players. So I'm not surprised at all that this was the pick. I am thrilled. I couldn't be any more excited to have Greg Newsome on the Cleveland Browns. I think he's going to fit fantastic, and I think you're going to see his impact day one. And I'm not even saying that just to hype him up. If this was a guy I thought that would just be a sit and learn, I would say that. I think Greg Newsome is going to be a guy who could potentially start. And the packages that they could use him in to me, is the reason why they drafted him in the first place. He is yet another versatile guy that they can use in multiple different ways. Like I said, zone, man, he's good at everything. Can play inside, can play outside. But I think now you look at what the Browns can do with their secondary. You know, they can go with 2 corners, 3 safeties. They can go with 3 corners, 2 safeties. They can do so much. And I think Greg Newsome, in my opinion, I think when the Browns run a 2-corner set, I think it's going to be him and Denzel Ward. I really do. When the Browns run 3 corners, I think it's going to be Ward and Newsome on the outside with Troy Hill on the inside. But the best part is, and you can disagree with me there, I know I believe, well, it might have been in a group chat, but I won't even say it. But I was talking to some people who you guys probably would know, and there was a little bit of a disagreement there. They thought he will play inside more than outside. But it is what it is. I mean, that's the best part, is he's so versatile. He can do so many different things. But he will be on the field, and I think he's going to be a starter. So at this point, the Browns are essentially saying, hey, if Greedy Williams can play at all and be effective in any way, that's just a bonus. We're going to act like he's not even there, which is exactly what I was hoping for when they went into the draft. I mean, you got guys who have been so banged up. Like I said, Ward, Greedy, you lost some guys like Terrence Mitchell and Kevin Johnson. This was just a no-brainer to me, and I think Greg Newsome is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I think at his age, he's got so much more learning to do, and he's surrounded by a bunch of great talent. So I'm excited to see his career and what he does here in Cleveland. I couldn't be any happier to have him. So on to the next pick in the second round at 52. 52. The Browns trade up. It doesn't say who we traded up with. I think Chicago maybe. I don't know. But anyway, they select linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. Let me just say it one more time. With the 52nd pick. You can go and look at these draft analysts, and all of them have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah at least in the top 20. At least. Some have him higher. Some have him a little bit lower. But Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is this draft's version of Isaiah Simmons. And I think that is the reason why he fell. I think people panicked because they didn't know what to do with him, which in my opinion is ridiculous, because I think Owusu-Koramoah is a guy who can do so many different things. And we talk about versatility with this Browns defense and what they're doing in the offseason. That's the common theme here. Versatility, can do multiple different things. Owusu-Koramoah, I think the way the Browns use him this year is how the Cardinals should have used Simmons last year. And I think Arizona's starting to figure it out with Isaiah Simmons. But I think the Browns have a clear plan for Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and I do think he will be playing at the linebacker position. I know he's a linebacker-safety hybrid, but I just don't see him, especially now that we'll talk about, Richard LeCounte adding to the safety room. But I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is going to play linebacker, and I think we're going to use him as a linebacker. But in this defense that the Browns are going to run, linebacker isn't traditional linebacker. I mean, they're going to ask him to do multiple different things. They're going to ask him to blitz. They're going to bring him off the edge. They're going to have him in coverage, along with the traditional linebacker run stuffer stuff. He's did I just say stuffer stuff? That's hilarious. But Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I was speechless that we got him. Speechless. This is a guy that Browns fans were not happy at all that we didn't take at 26. There were so many fans, and you know who they are. And I can go through a list of guys who are just furious that we didn't take him at 26. I knew we weren't going to take a linebacker. Even though JOK can do so much, I knew linebacker wasn't going to be the position. But at 52, oh my gosh. And shout out to Andrew Berry. We were picking 59, I believe. And for him to say, all right, pull the trigger, trade up, get him, make sure we have him. That's what we need. I fully trust Andrew Berry based on his 2 off seasons, his 2 drafts. He knows what he's doing. Now, I won't say that there's not some questionable decisions, and we'll talk about that next. But as far as this pick, to me, this is a no-brainer. I made a video talking about the Browns must trade up in the second round. I meant higher because I thought this guy was going to be one of the first names called on day 2, but he wasn't. For the reasons exactly what I said. I think Isaiah Simmons and how the Cardinals used him deterred so many teams because they didn't know what to do. And to me, I think it's ridiculous. I think when it's all said and done, you're going to look at this draft and say, whoa, the Browns got 2 elite first-round talents at 26 and 52. 52. Jeez. I mean, and if you think, well, I don't know how they're going to use him, just go watch his highlights. Go watch what he does. He's literally perfect all around in so many different ways. So, like I said, I think the Browns are going to use him specifically at linebacker, but they're going to have him do a bunch of different things. And like they talk about with the secondary and how versatile they are, this just adds more. More versatility. You can do whatever you want with him, essentially. And I'll tell you one thing, and this will wrap it up with Owusu-Koramoah. He will be a Ravens killer, in my opinion. I think this guy is the perfect player to have on your defense to face the Ravens 2 times a year. Because we all know, and you can argue all you want, the Baltimore Ravens are a run-first team. That's all they do. That's all they ever will do as long as Lamar Jackson is their quarterback. The reality is Lamar is a limited player at quarterback. He's a limited passer, I should say. So when you're running that RPO offense and constantly options and reading guys, when you have Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, and now Owusu-Koramoah that you can bring multiple different ways, he is going to haunt the Ravens. And in particular, I think he's going to be very impactful for no matter who we face. But I think the Ravens in particular, specifically, he will be extremely effective. And if I was a Ravens fan, I would be ticked that the Browns got him. Because as much talent as the Browns added this offseason, he is just the definition of the cherry on top. And I think he's going to wreak havoc in the NFL day 1, and I cannot wait. So on to round 3. This is the one I had major problems with. I'm just going to be honest with you, and I'm going to be brutally honest. The Browns take Anthony Schwartz, receiver from Auburn, with the 91st pick in the NFL draft, round 3. And I'm going to be honest. I've complete facepalm when this pick came through. I was not happy at all. And I'll tell you why. Because it's so easy as a fan to look at his 40 time and say, oh my gosh, he's so fast. Oh, great. The guy has one route that he can run, and it's straight. He's not a good route runner at all. He does not have great hands at all. I've seen some major fumbling problems with him. He's massively undersized when it comes to weight. And, people will instantly say Devontae Smith. Well, here's the difference. Devontae Smith is one heck of a route runner with crazy good hands. This kid is below average hands and a horrible route runner, in my opinion. So, unless the Browns use him specifically on jet sweeps and in kick return, or, on outside verticals, I think this is a horrible, horrible pick. Just awful. honestly, I think the one position I don't feel good about coming out of the draft is wide receiver, because I hope to have a guy like an Amari Rodgers, a Cornell Powell, Wallace from Oklahoma State, Diami Brown from North Carolina, one of these guys who I can feel good about that I think has a lot of potential. Now, Diami Brown in particular, I've been talking about for a long time. I would have loved to have him. But I think people look at his speed and say, oh my gosh, that's it. Can you imagine him and this and doing this and whatever? Okay, great. Great. What happens when we need him as a receiver? That's just what it is, in my opinion. I think you drafted a kick returner in the 3rd round, and in my opinion, I hate it. I do. I'm sorry. And I know there's going to be people who are really, really upset with me on this one. There's just not a lot to like. Not a lot to like. Love the speed. Love it. But unless he puts on some size, really works on his route running, and really works on the jug machine for a long time, I just don't see it here. I think this is a bad pick. And that's not to say we can't use him in certain ways. Like I said, when the Browns used OBJ on the sweeps and stuff like that, like, he can do that, but I just think there was so much better value, in my opinion, of guys who could have been there a little bit later, and I think he would have been there later. At 110, you're telling me he would. I'm going to get off of this because I know a lot of people are going to be mad, and I want to move on. But this is the one pick that, to me, if I had to grade, I'd give it a D. I don't like this pick. But anyway, on to round 4. The Browns had 2 picks in round 4. With the first one at 110, they take James Hudson, offensive tackle from Cincinnati. This is a great long-term Bill Callahan pick right here. This is a guy who said he's open to playing guard. Browns might have some issues long-term at guard. I don't see them keeping Bitonio and Teller around together. I mean, contract-wise, it's going to be hard to do, and also age-wise. I think this is a guy who can really do a lot of things for you. Swing tackle, kind of that Hubbard role. And like I said, he could play guard. I think this is a guy who could really develop long-term into something really good, especially as a 4th-round pick. He was a difference maker at Cincinnati. I can't remember what the number was exactly, but maybe it was no pressures or something, no sacks. He had some really pretty good stats. So as far as, judging that pick, I was kind of like, huh? And then I was like, oh, okay. I see the value here. I see the long-term plan. So I like it a lot. Like I said, I think he could develop into something special, and at the very least be a really good backup, fill-in guy. So especially with the loss of Kendall Lamb, I think that's kind of why they went here. All right, with the next pick, 132, this is one of my favorite picks in this draft. Tommy Togiai, defensive tackle from the Ohio State. You got it right, Andrew Berry. The Ohio State University. This is an absolute steal. I was kind of upset when we didn't take him with the first 4th-round pick. I thought Togiai would be long gone. There were some defensive tackles going off the board pretty quick. I don't understand why Togiai wasn't one of them. I mean, in that national championship game where he wasn't there, you felt it. You could tell there was a major hole missing. And I think he was one of, if not the most underrated Buckeyes in a long, long time. Like, I think Tommy Togiai's impact on Ohio State's defense is really, really undershadowed. Like, I don't think people realize how big of an impact he had. And I love Haskell Garrett. I think Haskell Garrett is going to be a great player himself. But Tommy Togiai is a guy who could really come in and play significant time for the Browns and have really big impact. This is a diamond in the rough pick right here. I don't understand how teams didn't see the value here. But Tommy Togiai, I mean, to me, I think he's better in run support. He's a guy who, he was good stuffing the run. I think he's pretty good in pass rush too. But his skill set, it leans more towards stopping the run. But I think this is a great pick, and this might sign the end for Sheldon Richardson as far as possibly coming back. Now, I'm not saying that for sure, but I'm saying I think Togiai is a guy who's really going to surprise a lot of people. And I think Ohio State fans know, you know what I mean? I think Ohio State fans know his impact, but I think it's just something where outside of Buckeye fans, people are like, oh, whatever. He's an Ohio State guy. No, this guy's special. I mean, he's different. Like, I'm not even saying, my fanhood of Ohio State doesn't have anything to do with it, but just as a player, I mean, you can watch it. Just, that's all I'm going to say. If you don't like this pick, just wait. Just wait, because you'll see. On to the next one, 153. Tony Fields, a second linebacker from West Virginia. I don't know a whole lot about him, I'll be honest. But I do think it's interesting that the Browns go with another linebacker here. I think that potentially this could sign the end for Mack Wilson if he doesn't get things together. I think that Fields is a guy who's going to play a lot of special teams, possibly develop. Everything I've seen on him is he's a very athletic linebacker, a guy who's got a lot of potential. So I'm not mad at it, I think it's interesting that they went linebacker again. But, it's one of those things that we'll see. He's got a lot of traits, but how he'll translate, I don't know. Could he turn into something special? Sure. But we'll see. Not a whole lot to say there. Like I said, I really don't know a whole lot about him, so I'll be sure to look more into him for sure. But anyway, so this next pick, this is one that when I saw it come off the board, I was like, what? He was still available? Richard LeCounte, safety from Georgia, 169 in the 5th round. This is one of those picks where they say, these later round guys are the ones who really make up the NFL. Guys who slip, they get picked later, they develop into something special. This is that pick right here. Richard LeCounte is a guy to me at Georgia who he's got, I couldn't be any happier to have him on the Browns, honestly. I think, the safety room is pretty filled out, you know what I mean? But long term, keep an eye on this kid. That's all I'm going to say. Keep an eye on this kid. His size is pretty all right. But he's a guy who, he doesn't have one exact thing that he's great at like a lot of players. He's really good overall, but he plays with an edge. He plays football the way it's supposed to be. And I think he's been overshadowed a lot at Georgia just because of the talent that was around him. You see the two corners go really early along with many other players. But he's a guy that, when he played for Georgia, he got a lot better, I think, towards the end of his career there at UGA. But he was always making plays. He was just a guy that plays the game right. He's not afraid to hit you. He's really good in coverage. I see him more as a free safety, and I think that, but here's the thing, I see him more as a free safety, but I can see him doing multiple different things. So I think in the Browns defense, rather, he's a really good fit, and I'm pumped to see what he could turn into. I think this is the definition of diamond in the rough right here. I think a guy this late in the 5th round, I think this is a major steal. And the safeties kind of were crazy this year. Javon Holland, I believe, went first over Trevon Moehrig. Just crazy. But anyway, So, like I said, I know it's a 5th-round pick. A lot of people are going to say, don't care. But this is one of those SEC guys, played on a talented team with a lot of talent around him, who kind of gets overshadowed. But, I think it's kind of like Jordan Fuller, right? Jordan Fuller plays at Ohio State with Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, Damon Arnett, all these guys who were super high draft picks, big names. Jordan Fuller slips, and then, they're really high on him, and you see him making plays, and he looks really good. I think that's kind of the same thing here. I'm not saying LeCounte's going to start anytime soon, especially with the guys we have. But down the road, if you want to move on from somebody or, just for flexibility, this is a fantastic pick in my opinion. And with the last pick, Demetric Felton played wide receiver at UCLA. Allegedly, the Browns want him to play running back. I would rather have him as a wide receiver. I like him better than Anthony Schwartz. That's really my thoughts there. I'm just going to be brutally honest. I would rather have him as a wide receiver. But to me, I think he's got a lot of skill sets that could translate to running back, especially with the guys in front of him. So, we'll see. I think he could be a guy that comes into camp, tries out at running back. Maybe they switch him to receiver. Who knows? But it is what it is. I like him a lot, I was really happy to see him as the pick, but I really thought he was going to be a receiver. And they say they're moving him to running back. So we'll see. That's my thoughts there. We'll see. I think he's got a lot of upside, a lot of potential. But, with these positions changing, it's just hard to tell sometimes. So anyway, that is your Cleveland Browns draft from this year. Now the Browns did sign some undrafted free agents, including a D tackle from Florida State who they must have been in love with because they gave him 6th-round pick money. I wish I had his name in front of me right now. I'm trying to do this on the fly. Like I said, I had computer problems and whatnot. But I think this is a really good draft. Like I said, there's only one that I'm really upset at, and that's Anthony Schwartz. For the reasons I stated. And it's not that I'm mad we drafted him. I think I'm mad about where. I just think there was much better talent available, in my opinion. I really hope he proves me wrong. I would be elated to, revisit this a year or two down the road, and Anthony Schwartz is one of the best receivers in the league. Of course I would be happy about that. I want to be wrong. And I got my fingers crossed that I am. I just don't feel good about that pick. But overall, if I had to give it a grade, I would give this draft an A-. I think the only thing keeping it from an A+ is the Schwartz pick and probably the Fields pick out of West Virginia. I just think, I don't know. I'm not mad at Fields. I just don't know a whole lot about him right now. That could change after I watch some more of his film. From what I've seen already, I think he's more of a special teams guy, 5th-string linebacker, situational linebacker. So, it is what it is. I think when you're going straight off of the first 2 picks, Greg Newsome and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, that's enough for an A itself. A+ in my opinion. Tommy Togiai just couldn't be happier. Richard LeCounte couldn't be happier. James Hudson, the tackle from Cincinnati, I like a lot what I see there as far as long-term potential. And he's going to have one of the best lineman coaches in the league. So I think when you look at this draft as a whole, the defense is completely overhauled. And it's going to be amazing to see the difference from the Browns defense last season versus this season. Last season was almost unwatchable. This year, you're going to have playmakers across the board at almost every position. So it's going to be exciting. I think the most interesting thing here is what they do at D-tackle now. How do they feel about Togiai and the guy from Florida State? Where do they see their roles on the team? So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on the draft. I know PFF gave the Browns an A+, but it is PFF, so take it with a grain of salt. I love PFF, but still, you know what it is. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.